Okay guys, today we are making fried chicken. Now fried chicken has a lot of steps and you can eliminate some of these steps if you choose to eliminate them. But this is why I rarely make fried chicken, and when I do, I try to do it right. So first what we're going to do is we're going to take our chicken pieces. I have here, these are just leg quarters that I've cut the legs off, so it's legs and thighs, okay? Now, I'm going to have my daughter do this part, show you exactly how this is supposed to be done. Okay, we're going to take a chicken leg, okay? See how we have the bone right in here? She's going to just cut a little around that bone with a nice knife, and also make sure that you're really careful not to cut yourself, okay? And she's left-handed, so that's why she's going backwards. But typically you would just kind of start here and work your way around. So if you're left-handed, work around the other way. However you get it done, get it done. But you're going to cut just around that bone, okay? And you're going to do that on all of your chicken, okay? Cut all around the bone. And I'm going to have her finish doing that in just a moment. Once we're done cutting around the bone, then we'll get ready to season. But let me tell you why we're cutting around the bone. This is a very, very important step. The reason why we're cutting around the bone is because a lot of times you'll notice when you go to fry chicken, it doesn't get done all the way through. This is going to help you if you ever have that problem. Because by cutting around the bone, when you fry it, the grease is going to not only cook out here, it's also going to seep into here and cook inside going out as well as outside coming in. And your chicken will get done a little faster, and it'll be done all the way down to the bone. So let's finish doing this and we'll be right back. Okay guys, so we have the bone cut around the chicken. Now it's time to add our seasonings. You can add whatever you want. Think about what you want your chicken to taste like, okay? I add quite a bit of seasonings, you guys know that. But I always season my meat before. And some people season at the end, and that's fine also. So do whichever way makes you feel good. And I do a lot of seasoning. So. This here is lemon pepper, okay? And I'm having her mix it, just kind of mix it all through. Keep going. While I just pour it on. And I like the way lemon pepper tastes with chicken. It gives it a tang, which will be really helpful if you decide to skip using like a buttermilk or anything like that. And this is just a little paprika. And paprika is typically just for color, so we don't have to use a whole lot of that. This is just a mixture of Cajun seasonings here, because I like a lot of seasonings. And then a little cayenne, because I do like a little spice. Now you also want to, when you get ready to do your seasonings, if you're the type of person who just really doesn't get into a lot of seasonings, you could always just buy, you know, the ranch packets, Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning packets at the store. Buy those. Throw it on your chicken and you let it sit. So with this chicken, I need to empty that. With this chicken, I'm going to let it sit for about an hour. At least do an hour before you move on to your next step. It's labor intensive, but it's definitely worth it. And this way your chicken is flavored, okay? All the way down to the bone. And that's parsley, and I'm also going to throw in a little bit of thyme. And then I'm going to cover this and set it in the refrigerator for an hour. Once that hour is up, I'll be back to show you what our next step will be in frying our chicken. Okay guys, so while our chicken is marinating in its seasonings, I figured we'd go ahead and start prepping our flour. The flour is really simple. It's whatever you want and however much of it you want in it. So please don't ask me for any measurements because it doesn't matter. You do what you want to do. I like to have a little rosemary in just about everything. So I'm going to add rosemary. And lots of it. Plenty of granulated garlic. And I'm pretty much just going to season it the way that I season the chicken. Plenty of lemon pepper. If you want, you can just do salt and pepper. That's pretty much how I grew up on it. And don't worry about the big hunk of seasoning sitting there because I will be mixing this thoroughly with a fork in just one moment. And this is a little cayenne because I like a little heat. And you'll notice that I like a little heat, especially in my chicken as we go by. And of course, paprika. Okay. So now you've got your flour together. And you can add white pepper or black pepper or whatever kind of pepper you want to add to this mixture. I'm going to throw in a little fresh ground black pepper myself. Here. And I already have cayenne and I have Cajun seasoning, so I'm pretty set on pepper. I also like to add just a little bit of thyme, which I'll go ahead and do that right now. But now my flour is basically ready. Okay, so all I have to do at this stage is let my flour sit to the side and get ready for my next step once my chicken seasoning is done marinating. And again, let that sit for at least an hour. If you can do it the day before, put it in a container, put a lid on, and put it in the refrigerator. That's even better so that you know your seasoning is cooked to the bone. Because in this stage with the flour, all we're really seasoning is the crust. We're not seasoning the chicken. So what's here is never going to actually make it to your chicken when you go to fry it. So you want to season that meat if you want your meat seasoned. If you don't care, or you know you're just the type of person that's just like, let me just taste the straight up chicken, I understand that. Don't worry about seasoning it. But if you're like me and you want to taste all these different herbs and spices all the way through, then please, please, please season that. Let it sit overnight, or let it at least sit for an hour before you get ready to cook it. But to save time, go ahead and get your flour ready, like I just did. And our next step, once the chicken is done marinating in its own seasoning, will be to give it a wash. Now, the wash is a step that you can skip if you choose to skip it. But something tells me you might want to do this one. Okay guys, so we have our chicken. It's been sitting here in its own juices. And now we're going to add some mustard. Just plain old yellow mustard, okay? There we go. And like I said, you can skip this step if you want to. You don't have to. I would recommend you not skip this particular step because it's really good. It's going to give your chicken like a tang. Much needed tang. You will love it. Okay, so now all we have to do is rub the mustard into the chicken. And just make sure that there's mustard all over all of the chicken. Each piece needs to have mustard all over it. Now for your next step, you would just either go straight into the flour and start frying, or you'll do what we're going to do next. Okay guys, so now it's time for the next step. And if you don't want to do the mustard step, you could always soak your chicken in some buttermilk with some hot sauce. But that's totally up to you. So I'm just showing you the way that I kind of prefer to do it. So I've got some nice buttermilk here. And now I'm going to crack 3 eggs because I have a nice amount of chicken that I'm cooking. And you'll have to be able to just kind of eyeball it yourself to see how many eggs and how much milk and all that kind of good stuff that you're going to need. Okay? Now, the reason why I'm doing this is going to help the flour coat to my chicken. And if you double dip, then you can get an even thicker, crunchier crust. So this will be our next step. So now we're going to mix this up, but before we do, I like to add a little bit of hot sauce. So I'm going to grab my hot sauce and sprinkle a little bit of that in here. Oops, and I hope that gets it in better focus for you. The best hot sauce to use is Crystals to me. And that's just because I love Crystals. I love Crystals on everything. But unfortunately, I live in Texas and they don't sell Crystals here. So I have to trek. Or I could order it online, but the excuse to be able to drive out and buy Crystals out of Louisiana is a good excuse. So now we've got our eggs, our milk, and our Crystals all mixed together. And I'll probably add a little more. And now we are ready to fry and batter. So I'm going to show you in just one moment how to batter. Okay guys, I want to give you a really quick tip. Since I'm going to be deep frying my fried chicken, which is actually the best way to fry it, unless you can fry in a pressure cooker, I wanted to show you where you might want to put your grease in a skillet. So if you're going to be frying in a skillet, one, use peanut oil. Okay? Always use peanut oil. It has a really high burn count, so you can make sure that your chicken gets cooked all the way through. Secondly, a lot of people will tell you, hey, put your grease to this level here. This is not necessarily true. Let's say you have a piece of chicken that is, well, all of your chicken is about that thick, okay? You want to have enough grease in your skillet to cook about halfway, okay? So this is cooking one side, and then when you flip your chicken over, it'll cook the other side. I hope you understand what I'm saying, because I'm doing this with one hand. But that was just a really quick tip if you're going to be cooking your chicken on the stove. Okay guys, so we have our first piece of chicken, and I'm doing this one at a time because I really want to show you something. Okay, second piece of chicken has gone through the egg and milk wash and into the flour. Now this is going to make a great crust, which you'll see on the other piece of chicken that I currently have cooking. But if you want more crust and you're really into crust, this is what you need to do. You're going to take your chicken that is now in the flour section, and you're going to put it back into the egg and milk wash. Just roll it around in there. Try to keep holding nothing but the end of the chicken, smallest piece of your chicken. Okay, hold that up and let it drip off. And then go right back into your flour, and with your dry hand cover that wet chicken, okay? And you always want to keep one hand wet, one hand dry, okay? And it takes a lot of practice, trust me, because you forget, you grab, and then you end up with tons of flour on your fingers. If that happens, you want to take that over to the trash because you don't want to clog your sinks. But also, if you have a can of non-stick spray, like a butter spray or something like that, spray your fingers with the spray while it's coated in that yucky flour mixture, and it will come completely off really easily. Okay, guys, so I have those 2 pieces of chicken out of the fryer. Now you see with one layer, one dipping, this is what your crust looks like. After a nice double dip, you get a lot more crunchy crust here, okay? So, I hope that helps anyone who might be having trouble making chicken. So, good luck and let me know how you guys came out.